Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live show of the Happy Wife School. As always, I am excited to be here and get into our topic today. So, as you guys can hear me, please let me know in the chat. It's just always helpful on this end. Just let me know in the chat that you can hear me all right and that things are coming through. And we're going to get started. So today we are talking about what is a red pill. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I call my channel the Happy Wife School, the red pill for women. So I want to talk about, sorry, just getting some things situated over here. There we go. So I want to talk about why I call my channel the red pill, and I want to talk about the real truth about what the red pill really is as it pertains to what I am talking about and what I am teaching women and what I am teaching good men. And I think a great place to start is just a little background about where did the concept of the red pill come from. And a lot of us know, and some of you might not know, but the concept of the red pill came from the movie The Matrix. And there's a scene in The Matrix where Neo, the main character, Keanu Reeves' character, is talking with Morpheus, and Morpheus gives Neo an opportunity and a choice whether he wants to stay imprisoned in the Matrix or if he wants to know the truth and be set free from the Matrix. And so Morpheus offers Neo a blue pill or a red pill. And the blue pill is what would keep Neo trapped in the Matrix, trapped in a false reality. And the red pill would allow Neo to see the truth and be set free from the imprisonment of the Matrix. And that's where the concept of the red pill comes from. And then, of course, what we're going to talk about and what is known is the red pill community in YouTube and other social media outlets. And I want to share a definition with you of the red pill community that I relate to, and that will set forth what we are going to talk about today. And as always, I'm going to have a segment for women and I'm going to have a segment for men. And I hope that both women and men will listen to both. So again, we can continue to grow and learn in the dynamics of the relationships that we have with each other. So the definition that I want to share, I found that I think is good, is that the red pill, as it pertains to the red pill community, the red pill is a central tenet of many men's identity communities online. And it draws on an evolutionary psychology framework, and it exposes how women are naturally manipulative and self-interested. And the part of that definition that I relate to the most and what I teach is that part that the red pill exposes how women are naturally manipulative and self-interested, and then how that sets forth the different dynamics that we have between each other as men and women, and how women show up in relationships with men. So for today's episode, we're going to use this definition, and I'm going to explain what the red pill is as it pertains to what I talk about and what I teach women and what I teach good men, and how it relates to the dynamics between women and good men. So the first place that I want to start off is really understanding the psychology of relationships. And what I had to realize, and was very, very blessed to be red pilled, not by the red pill community, but by my mentor, is that I needed a new way to look at relationships, because what we are taught through couples counseling, what we're taught through the books we read, and just our own perception of relationships in our society, is that relationships are built around what I need my partner to be for me, what I need to be for him, and that he takes care of me, I take care of him. And that's how we have a happy, healthy relationship. And that doesn't work. That doesn't work because we're putting the control and power outside of us. So in order to have healthy relationships, we have to redefine one, and we have to redefine marriage, which is another topic for another time. But we have to redefine the psychology of relationships and how relationships truly, truly work. So the psychology of relationships that I teach, that I was very blessed to be taught by my mentor, is that relationships are a reflection of our own internal emotional state. Relationships are a reflection of our own internal emotional state. So what that means in a marriage or in a committed relationship between women and men, and speaking as a woman, is that where my marriage had gotten to, where my husband and I were very distant, we were very disconnected. We lost the connection that we had when we first met. That was a reflection of my own internal emotional state. And that my internal emotional state as a woman, which I'm going to get more into here in a moment, was a reflection of how I felt about myself, that created the lens and perspective of which I viewed my marriage and which I viewed my husband, that caused it to go very south and very, very nearly fail. And the reason that we want to have the psychology of relationships be that our relationship is a reflection of our own internal experience of ourselves, our own internal emotional state, is that's the only way we can change. As long as a healthy relationship is dependent on what my partner can do or provide to me, I give my power away, I make myself a victim, and I have no control to change because now I am dependent on another to change my experience of myself and change my experience of the marriage or the relationship. When we know that the relationship is a reflection of ourselves and that it's mirroring back our own internal experience, now I'm empowered to change because I can do something to change my internal experience. I cannot do anything to change my husband or change my partner. So that's the fundamentals of the psychology of relationships that I teach both men and women. But we have to look at different things as men and women. So first, I'm going to talk to the women, and then I will talk to the men. And like I said, I hope you stick around for both segments so that we can continue to learn about each other. And so when we think of the psychology of relationships and that how we view or perceive our partner or perceive the relationship or marriage as a reflection of our own internal experience of ourselves, our own internal emotional state, is that it's our own internal experience that creates the matrix that we live in, that we can't see the reality of the relationship. So from what I teach, the matrix is our mind, and the matrix is our own internal emotional state that without the red pill, without being able to see the truth and the reality, we have no way to be set free from the matrix of the mind and the matrix that we create in our relationships. And what happens when our perception of the relationship is based on our own internal experience is that we begin to believe what we are seeing and experiencing in the relationship is real. But it's not. It's a false reality created by our mind and created by our emotional state. So again, we need the red pill to get out of that matrix, to be able to see the truth and the reality. So we need to talk first. Like I said, ladies, I want to talk to you first, and that everything I'm going to share with you was the experience of myself as a woman stuck in the matrix of my own woman mind that nearly destroyed my marriage and my relationship with my husband. So how we create the matrix within ourselves as women is that we have an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. And how we can know that: we don't feel enough. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others. We beat ourselves up. We're highly critical of ourselves. We don't feel like we know who we are. We don't feel a connection to ourselves, and we feel empty, that no matter what we do in our pursuit of happiness, getting married, having kids, having a career, getting a nice home, living where we would like to live, having the money and the financial freedom that we would like, none of those things make us happy. And we constantly feel empty and that there is something missing. That's the experience of having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves, which I explain as being unhappy. And through that unhealthy relationship with ourselves as women, and then this is where you can understand where the emasculation from your wife or the women in your life comes from. With that unhealthy relationship with ourselves, we have very low emotional intelligence. Because as women, and just in our humanness, we do not want to be exposed to see the truth of ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we create those feelings about ourselves, that it's not happening to us or something from our past or our upbringing or our father or our mothers, that it's our own choices and decisions that create the unhealthy relationship with ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. Again, that's the only way we have control to change. I teach camp take responsibility, meaning that I am where I am. I feel how I feel about myself. I have the relationship I have with myself because of my own choices and decisions. That's camp take responsibility. Camp victim is something or someone has been done to me that has created the experience I am having of myself in my life. And there's no way out. That's a trap. That's the matrix. That's the trap of the mind. And there's no solution. And there is no way forward. So from that place of having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves, we don't want to take responsibility. As you'll see in the comments, and many people will say, they'll probably say it in the chat box right now, is accountability is like kryptonite to women. And in a decade of working with women, of knowing my own shortcomings and limitations, my own stubbornness, we don't want to take accountability, and we don't want to have to be exposed to ourselves and actually have to change. We don't want to. I don't know why we're wired the way we are. I have my theories, but I know that's how we're wired. But the good news is that's why the red pill is so important, is there's a way to escape that, and there's a way to be set free. So from that unhealthy relationship with ourselves, we have very low emotional intelligence because we have unknowingly given the power and control away to the people and things outside of us, our husband, and we are very reactive. And so we get caught in our own emotional chaos, our own emotional drama, and we project that onto our husbands. And from that place of not feeling good about who we are, having low emotional intelligence, and not wanting to look at ourselves, not wanting to take accountability, not wanting to change, that creates the lens through which we see our husbands. And again, my message is for women married to good men, and good men married to women. That's the framework of which we are talking about. When we are with good men as women, and this can apply to any relationship, but we're talking about marriage, when we don't feel good about ourselves on the inside, we have low emotional intelligence. That creates the lens that then the very things we actually feel about ourselves that we don't want to be exposed for, don't want to take accountability for, we point the finger out and we blame our husbands. So we view them as disconnected, distant. We view them that they don't care about us, that they don't appreciate us, that they're not stepping up in the relationship, that they're not fulfilling their roles and their responsibilities. And it's from that matrix that we live in, that lens that we create ourselves from how we feel about ourselves on the inside, our own unhealthy relationship with ourselves. That's where we emasculate our husbands, where we make them wrong, we weaken them, we shame them, we see them as bad. We're constantly nagging, controlling, criticizing. Check out my video on clear signs you emasculate your husband. I go into depth in that video, so you can find that there. But it's our own relationship with ourselves and how we feel about ourselves that causes us to then act out in our woman ways, that then pushes our husbands away, causes them to disengage and withdraw from the relationship or react and try to defend themselves against the emasculation. And what happens is we live in that matrix of the mind from low emotional intelligence that we really truly believe that our husbands are the problem and that they're the ones that need to change for the relationship or the marriage to change and be successful and good. And we go round and round and round and just stay trapped in that matrix of the mind, unable to see the reality. It is a false reality. And that's what I had to see for myself. I hit the jackpot of good men without even realizing what I was doing when I got married. So I've been married for 9 years. I've been with my husband for 15 years. I'm 40 in November. And I was trapped in the matrix. And I have a good man, just hardworking, works so hard, as tough as nails. He's kind, he's generous. All he wants is for me to be happy. And because of how I showed up with an unhealthy relationship with myself, incredibly low emotional intelligence, I had my walls up with him. I emasculated him. I treated him poorly. And I did it covertly. Pretending to be kind and nice and show up and be a good wife. But on the inside, resenting him, making him wrong. I nagged. I was controlling. You've heard my story where I said I sent him self-help articles every day, constantly pushing him and wanting him to change. And that pushed him away. And his responses to me, which were coming from my own emotional state and how I felt about myself, shaped my lens of him. And the man that I married, that I said I loved and was wonderful and wanted to spend the rest of my life with, a year into the marriage, I was ready to run, which is what I had done in every relationship prior to him. Guess who the common denominator was? Me. And the only way out of that matrix and that false reality that I was living in that saved my marriage was taking the red pill. I didn't call it that. I didn't know that. But when I met my mentor, he helped me to see the truth of why I was so unhappy in my life, why I had the problems I had, why I had an unhealthy relationship with myself. And he was the first person that I worked with, of all the therapists, of all the healers I went to. He was the first person to say, Karen, you are the problem. You are the problem. It's not your dad. It's not your mom. It's not your past. It's you. And at the time I was 31, as a 31-year-old adult grown-up woman, it's you. You're the problem. And it was very empowering. And I was craving, deep down, I was craving somebody to tell me that, because deep down I knew. But all the therapy and all the healers and all the books I read enabled me to be a victim and live in my stories, live in the matrix, which kept me very stuck. And again, nearly destroyed my marriage. So by the way out, why women need the red pill. Women have to have a way out of the matrix of our mind and the emotional chaos and drama that we live in, whether we are overt in it or we hide it and pretend we're good and we've got it all together. We have to be honest, ladies, about what's going on the inside, not the facade we wear to the outside. It doesn't cut it. We have to have the red pill to break through the matrix of the mind that we really, really believe that it's our husbands who are the problem. The solution is to see the truth. That's what's causing the problems in your marriage with a good man is you and your unhealthy relationship with yourself and the low emotional intelligence you live in, being reactive and giving your power and control away to the outside world, believing that that's what causes you to feel the way that you feel and have the emotional reactions that you have. There's another way, because living in that matrix keeps you a victim and keeps you very, very stuck. And if you don't get out of it in your marriage and you leave and you divorce, you're going to create the exact same thing in another relationship. and continue to live in that matrix and believe that that's the reality. So to escape the matrix of your mind and the false reality you live in, believing it's your husband that's the problem, you have to take the red pill like I did, which is simply seeing that you are the problem and that that is a good thing. Because if you are the problem, and it's the only way that you are empowered to change, as long as it's your husband that is the problem or men that are the problem, you will never change and you will stay stuck in your woman ways and stay stuck in being a victim and wonder, why does this keep happening to me? Feel sorry for yourself. And why can't I have a healthy relationship with my husband? Or why can't I have a healthy relationship with a man? And it's simple. How we are the problem is that we have low emotional intelligence. We have not been taught to be in control of our emotional state in a constructive way that allows us to make conscious choices about who we want to be and how we want to respond. No one ever taught us that we have a choice, that we actually have a choice and that we can control our emotional state and we can choose how we show up and how we want to respond. But until we see that, we live in our woman ways of being emasculating, shaming. And again, it's really important to know that that happens on a spectrum. And it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. We have to change those woman ways that are a reflection of ourselves, a reflection of our low emotional intelligence, our unhealthy relationship with ourselves. And the red pill awakens you to that. And then from that place, there's a solution. That once you see the truth, there is a way out of the matrix and there is a way to change. And there is a way to evolve as a woman and a wife to become the best version of yourself and be who you always said you wanted to be. And it's very simple. If it's our low emotional intelligence, our inability to be in control of our emotional state and our unhealthy relationship with ourselves, the solution's very simple. It's learning how to develop high emotional intelligence, how to be in control of your emotional state, how to choose how you want to show up and respond, and learning to have a healthy relationship with yourself, which I call the journey of being happy. And it's what I teach in my happiness course to women, because that's the foundation. You have to learn to be happy in yourself, which isn't a feeling. It's not an emotion. I hear and see in comments all the time, happiness isn't a good goal. BS. It's the solution out. The problem is we don't understand what happiness is. Happiness is the process and the journey of building a healthy relationship with yourself. It's learning to feel good about who you are. And how I teach it and how to develop high emotional intelligence is actually through developing integrity with ourselves and building our character of who we are. It's through building character and through building integrity, not for anybody else, not for society, not for your husband, for you, because of who you want to be and how you want to know yourself. That's actually the path. And that's what I teach in my happiness course for women. And then in a more advanced way, in the Happy Wife program, which teaches you how to develop high emotional intelligence in your marriage and evolve as a wife to feel good about who you are. And then your husband gets the benefit. So that's the solution. That's why as women, we need the red pill. So that's what I wanted to talk about with women. I'm going to take a glance at the comments in the chat box before I move in to the segment for men. Thank you all so much for being here. Please hit the like button. I am new to the lives and asking people to hit the like button, but please hit the like button so more people can see this video. If you're new and joining, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when I put new content out. And again, just thank you for being here and being part of this. I like coming live. It's fun. And I'll take a quick look at the chat box just to see if anything stands out that would be helpful to answer or comment. I don't get to everything, but we'll take a look. Oh my gosh, so much in here. So much in here. So just seeing if there are any questions popping up or putting out. Oh, thanks, Daryl. It's a great discussion. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I just appreciate you guys being here and being engaged in the chat box. That's great. So I'm not Not seeing any questions. What I think I'll do is at the end of the live stream, guys, I'll talk for a couple of minutes, and if there are any questions you want to put at the end, um, I'll make sure to get to those at the end. I have no control to change because now I'm dependent on another to change the experience in myself. So well said. Thanks, JH. All right. Well, let's keep going. Let's keep having some fun. So, let's get into why men need the red pill, and from a different perspective, of what's out there currently in the red pill community. So to start this piece, it's important to know the psychology of relationships is the same for women and for men. However, how we look at it is different. So the psychology of relationships for men is the experience that you have of your marriage and of your wife as a reflection of your own internal state and your own internal emotional state. But it's different for a man than it is for a woman. Men need the red pill. They need to be exposed to see the truth and the nature of women and the nature of their wives or partners and their relationship. And I'm speaking to good men. Good men are men that are, and I did a live episode last week, so you can check that out to get a more in-depth description. But good men are men that are hardworking, they're loving, they're kind, they're good providers. They want their wife to be happy. If there's anything they know that they can do to do that, they will. But the problem is that what men haven't been taught and what women haven't been taught is that you cannot make your wife happy. It's impossible. That's your wife's responsibility to be happy. And I do teach that happy wife, happy life is true. It just hasn't been taught correctly in our society. It's the woman's responsibility to be happy in herself. And if she is, and she's married to a good man, that's all a good man wants, is for his wife to be happy. He just has to learn that he cannot make her happy. He can't. It's impossible. Happiness is an internal experience that we must take responsibility for in ourselves. It's only something we can do for ourselves. No one and no thing can do it for us. So good men have to have the red pill to actually see the reality of their wives. Because here's what happens and how good men get stuck in a matrix in their relationship and marriage with a woman. Is the lens of which you see your wife is not reality. And in working with good men for many years who haven't been red pilled, and maybe even some of those who have been exposed to it in spite of a good man's goodness and also shortcoming that gets him trapped in the matrix, is that even though his wife has woman ways and can emasculate him, weaken him, make him feel wrong and bad with a smile on her face and seemingly being nice, is that a good man will not see that reality of how his wife is and her woman ways and what that's doing to him as a man and how that's weakening him and stripping him of his sense of being a man. Is that a good man will focus on his wife's good qualities, because a good man loves and adores his wife. And of course, he has moments and times where he sees her being controlling or shaming him or making him wrong. But he buys into his wife's story that there's something he's doing or not doing that's causing her to treat him that way, because a good man naturally wants to take responsibility. He naturally wants to look at, what is it about me? And so he buys into his wife's story about him and how he is the problem and he's the one that needs to change. And so he feels bad and weak in himself. And no matter what he does, it's never enough. And his wife will continue to emasculate him. Again, there's a spectrum. And even if it's in subtle, discreet ways, it works to take away his power. And then he unknowingly gives that power away to his wife. And as soon as she's nice, he'll forget how she's been treating him. Good men have short memories. It's very interesting. I've been working on myself in my marriage in this way. I've been working on myself in my marriage to take responsibility for about a decade, but really specifically in this way of working on being emasculating in my own woman ways for about 7 or 8 years. And I was a covert emasculator. And I'll ask my husband from time to time, not so much anymore, but maybe a couple years ago, I'm like, gosh, do you remember how controlling I was or how bitchy I was? And he's so sweet, just like, not really. Not really. I don't really remember it at all because he sees all the good things in me and he experiences me how I am now. And we have a very healthy, happy, loving, intimate relationship and marriage. So good men have short memories. So as soon as if your wife hasn't changed and continues to emasculate you, as soon as she's nice, that clouds your ability to see the reality and you live in the matrix. And you continue to give your power and control away to your wife. So ladies, if you're listening, I teach men that they're the problem too. I teach men they're the problem too. And that they're the ones that need to change. But it's from a different place. What a man has to see is that his internal experience of himself, of being weakened and feeling wrong and bad by the emasculation, is what creates the lens and perception of the relationship. But it comes from the emasculation from his wife. And he begins to buy into what she tells him and how he's the problem. And he feels weak and bad and wrong about himself, and often will become a shell of a man over time in the relationship. Or it just goes through the relationship doing the best he can, maybe not understanding why he's depressed or unhappy or feeling bad about himself, or he stopped doing the things that make him feel like a man, or stopped doing the things that are important to him. And he can't understand why he's disengaged and pulled away from the relationship. Because again, he lives in the matrix of not seeing the reality of who his wife is. So how a good man has to see himself as the problem is, what is it about me that allows my wife to emasculate me? What are the weaknesses and shortcomings in me that the emasculation works to weaken me and to feel bad about myself and feel like I'm doing something wrong in the relationship? That's a good man's journey to see how he's the problem. But step one, as I've mentioned before, step one is a good man actually has to see that he has been a victim of the emasculation, not victim in the sense of victim mentality, but an actual victim of the emotional abuse of emasculation. Once he can see that, the key is then to not get stuck and trapped in victim mentality, that this has been done to me. A good man has to and also wants to take responsibility. So what I teach good men, that has been taught to me by my mentor, who is a good man, and this was his journey and his path through understanding actually his divorce, and then understanding and moving through his relationship with his partner now, who they have a healthy, happy, loving relationship, and they're my mentors. And so his journey and what I've learned and teach good men, and then from my perspective as a woman, so I can actually pull back the curtain and show you the truth of women's behaviors and where it's coming from and why we do this, the truth of it. That's the real red pill. That's what gets you out of the matrix, so you can use the emasculation as your greatest teacher to rebuild your sense of being a man, to where the emasculation no longer works, so that you are not a victim to it. One, a victim to it in terms of a victim of abuse, but so that you don't get trapped in being angry, feeling powerless against your wife who is emasculating. There's a journey out, and there is a solution. So what I notice in my comments on my videos and talking with people, talking with men, understanding the red pill community on YouTube is that oftentimes good men will get angry, understandably and reasonably angry and confused. And they get trapped in the matrix of the manosphere. And they get trapped in the matrix of the red pill community because there's no solution. There's no way out other than running away from women or not being in relationships with women. Or a lot of men in the manosphere are alpha men, and they will try to teach good men their alpha ways, which doesn't work. If you are a good man and you try to overpower your wife and make it a power struggle and try to dominate, she will destroy you even more. So that path doesn't work for good men. So you have to have a different kind of red pill to get out of the matrix and not get stuck in it. And what we have to know is that truth will always set you free. Truth will always set you free. It does not get you trapped in being angry and confused and being a victim. In order for something to be truth, it must set you free. And so what I want good men to know is there is a solution. And it's not about fixing your wife's behavior or changing your wife, because just as a woman cannot change her husband, a man cannot change his wife. So the psychology of relationship stays the same. In order to have a different perception and lens of your marriage, you have to change your internal emotional state, but it's different for a man. You have to use your wife and your marriage as your greatest teacher to expose the weaknesses and limitations in yourself that allows you to be emasculated by your wife, which then allows you to overcome those weaknesses within yourself, rebuild your strength of being a man, learn to stand up to the emasculation, not in an alpha way, but in a more of what I described last week that you can check out, in the way of a Sigma male, of being grounded and confident in yourself and learning to stand up to the emasculation in a responsible, respectful way that then allows you to rebuild your sense and strength of being a man. So where then the emasculation bounces off. And I teach men there's four things that can happen on this path of using the emasculation as the war zone you step into to build yourself and know yourself as a man that no other context in life can teach you. Yes, can you learn and grow as a man in other contexts of life? Absolutely. But using your wife or your partner or your marriage as your greatest teacher is a journey to developing your confidence as a good man and your strength as a good man in a way that no other context can teach. It's a different path and a different context. And 4 things can happen. 1, as you learn to rebuild your sense and strength as a man and become wise to the emasculation and how to navigate it, your wife will realize that her games will not work and she will step up and change. And it will be reflected back to you in the relationship. Number 2, she'll say, screw this. I don't like who you're becoming. And she might leave. 3, you step up to change and rebuild your sense as a man and stand up to the emasculation in a responsible, respectful way. She doesn't change. And you make the choice to leave, which is understandable and reasonable. Not here to convince a man to stay with an emotionally abusive woman. But what you have to understand is you didn't get the wrong wife. that on a spectrum, all women have woman ways, and how that shows up in a relationship or a marriage is emasculation. But when you know about it and you have the inside scoop and you know how to navigate it, you become strong in yourself to where it bounces off. But you might choose based on your values or where you are in your phase of your life, you might choose, I have learned to navigate this. She is not changing, and I do not want to stay in an unhealthy relationship with a woman who is emasculating, even though it bounces off now. And you can make that choice. Or number 4, based on your values and what's important to you, you may choose to stay. Not for your wife's sake, for your sake, because of what's important to you. And you learn to focus and see the good things about your wife and the things that you love about her and that you adore. And you see her as your greatest teacher when her emasculating ways come out, to continue to grow and become the best version of yourself and become strong in yourself as a good man. And those are the 4 different things that can happen. But the key is you have to break through the matrix to be able to see your wife and the different ways that she emasculates and how covert and subtle it can be, and use that to strengthen yourself. And in that way, she becomes your greatest teacher, because the key is to not be a victim, to not be angry and confused by it, because then that's where you do give your power away. The key is to take your power back, see the truth, which then breaks you free from that matrix that you have been living in with your wife or partner or the women in your life, potentially your mother, so that you are no longer imprisoned and you are no longer stuck there. And I want you to know the truth sets you free, and there is a solution and there is a way out. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. Again, I'll talk for a moment, and if there are questions, because that's a little easier for me than scrolling through the whole chat. If you have a question for me, please go ahead and put that in, and if I can answer it, I will. But thank you all again so much for being here. I like doing live videos as much as I like doing the recorded videos. And yeah, I'm not sure what else to talk about here. It's a nice day here in Colorado. I'm excited. Don't tell me in the chat box. I am excited to see. Some of you, if you've been paying attention, I've been excited about the CU Buffs this year with Deion Sanders being the coach. So I might catch a little bit of the game here, but don't tell me where it's at. I know that's a long shot today for them to win. All right, let me see what's in here. Just see if there's any questions popping up here at the end. And also, again, please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't. So, good question. Were women always like this, or did women become worse because of feminism? So great question. And that comes up a lot, and especially in the red pill community. My understanding and my experience as a woman and looking through history is that women have been women, have been women. Women have always been women. There's a quote from the Bible that is something like, there's lots of different versions of it. The one that's coming to mind right now is, I'd rather sleep on the pitch of the roof than sleep in a room with my quarreling wife. There's a book, The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands, that was an important part of my own understanding of my woman ways and being awakened out of my own matrix of my own mind. And that book was written like in the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. But there's a quote in that book of like a man, something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, this is not exact, but something along the lines of men have an easier time being a prisoner of war than facing the scorn of a woman. So my experience as a woman working with women all over is that women are women, that we all have our women ways. And does feminism give us another context to enable our own victimness and blaming and misogyny of men, of course. But as long as feminism is to blame for women being how women are, again, that keeps us trapped in being a victim. And everything I teach, whether I'm working with women, whether I am working with men, is the only person we have any control over to change is ourselves. And as long as feminism is responsible, we're screwed. We're screwed. Not to be crass, but we're screwed, because now we're needing a system and a movement to change that's not changing in order for our experience to change. It doesn't work. So we have to look at ourselves, our own choices and decisions, our own limitations and shortcomings to be able to have a path forward to change. And women and men are different, and we have different shortcomings and different limitations that we have to look at in ourselves. So yes, can feminism enable and entrench a woman in her woman ways that much more? Yes. But to me, it's how we are wired as women, and we can look at quotes throughout history from all over the world. You can talk to different men who have been with women from all over the world and share very, very similar experiences. So I teach from a universal perspective, that we have universal wiring and tendencies as women, just as men have universal tendencies and wiring as men. And yes, we have different context, but the only way to true change is to be able to see, what is it about me and what do I have control over to change, to be able to overcome our shortcomings and limitations, whether we are women and whether we are men. So whoa, there's a lot there. Thanks, Jack. It's great being here. It's great to have you here again. Thank you. Oh, that's great. Dr. Laura was a badass. Definitely. I gave that book to a fiance. Of course, she didn't read it. Thank God I didn't marry her. I like that comment in my men's course. That is a book that I have men read to continue to expose and understand and validate their experience with women. And I encourage them. I said, if there's something you want to share from this course, see if your wife will read The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. And now that I'm a YouTube channel, or see if she'll watch my videos. And it's a good test in a constructive way to be able to see if you have a woman who is open-minded and willing to change, or you don't. And then from that place, you can accept the woman you are married to, accept her for who she is, understand who you are with, and then be able to make choices and take responsibility for your choices so that you are not a victim. What was that one ancient story about the sirens singing women that lured in desperate men? I think it's called the Iliad. I have the Iliad right up there. I'm a nerd, and I really enjoy ancient philosophy and comprehending ancient philosophy. So I actually have that book right up there on my bookshelf. So wonderful. Oh, and thank you, George Bruno, for being here. It's always very nice to have your support and your encouragement. And guys, I'm hungry. It's time for me to have some lunch and check out the Buffs game. So glad you could be here. Glad you caught me here today as well. I will also, I know there's some more questions, but I'll take a look at those, and they might become videos in the future. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. So have a great weekend wherever you are. Stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.